We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners, Burke, Britton Financial Partners. This is episode number 75 of the Finances podcast. Got Ben Kemp, my normal co-host. Normal?
You're normal. Back in the chair.
You're back in the chair. Let me see how I go with this pronunciation. We've got Sam Piasente.
Piasente, you gave it a good crack.
Jesus. I definitely should have written it down phonetically. Business Development Manager at Enso Homes. And Lee Selkrig, Founder and Director at Enso Homes. Guys, thanks very much for joining us on our little show.
Thanks for having us.
No worries. Now,
Sam's been a bit of a long-time fan, so that's where the connection came from.
He's listened to one podcast, has he?
Yeah.
Probably one that you made him listen to.
Forced him to, so that's how he got his seat here today.
Now, we started talking golf and we're going to talk property today, but the other thing, I think there's a connection here with cricket, and I wanted to start there. The only thing I read when Lee sent through his little bio was 150 not out last year. Tell us a bit about that, Lee.
Well, firstly, it was in GCA 4.
Doesn't matter. You didn't need to say that, mate. We can cut that out.
No, it was good. I was probably only about 8 months after a back fusion, and I sort of just got past 20 for once. It was a good
kept
feeling.
Going.
Yeah.
Have you ever made a ton before or not?
Yeah, but not at senior level, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has Benny ever made a ton or not?
No, 88.
Yeah. Sam, you play up at Barrable or not?
No, he's tried to get me up there, but it's handy not having the gear to go. You can get out of it pretty easily.
I've seen him make 100 with the golf club a few times though.
Okay.
It's a lot easier done on the golf course than the cricket pitch, that's for sure.
Now, I'm sure we could do a whole episode on cricket and golf, but we're here to talk property today, and specifically Enso Homes. So, guys, we always like to start with a bit of backstory, and feel free to go back as deep and dark as you want on your own history. Lee, I want to hear a little bit about your background and the establishment of the business. I might start with Sam, though. So, Sam, give us a little bit of your backstory and how you found your way to Enso Homes as the business development manager.
Yeah, sure thing. So I went to school in Druin and then wanted to do architecture and construction management.
Is there any famous people from Druin?
Daisy Thomas.
Daisy Thomas, who else?
Goes with the Collingwood option. Gary Ablett Sr.
Oh, there you go.
So, another big name. So, came to Geelong, was wanting to do architecture and construction management. Geelong happened to be the only place in Australia that offered that, but it was probably more the footy and the beach that brought me here. So, I did 1 year of architecture, and then at the end of that year, after feeling like I wanted to do that since I was in grade 4, it became apparent that wasn't the right path for me. So stuck with the construction management side of it, and then ended up on res at Deakin Geelong with Ben here as well. So we probably spent our first couple of years partying a bit more than studying.
Did you have any classes together?
No, definitely not. But we lived 50 metres away from each other. So I remember when he was an Archie student, and I remember when he stopped being an Archie student, he seemed a lot happier after that. He stopped punching trees and pulling his hair out.
What was it you didn't like about architecture?
It was probably, so I still love the concept side of design, but it was probably more the fiddly little detailing side of things. So a lot of time goes into like detailing a door handle and stuff like that, and certain measurements and stuff. So still have that passion for design, and then had that passion for construction as well. So I stuck with the construction management side of things. And then when it came time to looking for a job, I was wanting to align with a builder that cared about design and was in pursuit of great designed homes, and that's kind of led me to Enso Homes.
So how'd you get the gig at Enso? Did you search Lee out, or did Lee find you?
It was actually, I was working part-time after going to Europe for the European summer after finishing uni. I picked up a part-time gig at an insulation company, and I was just doing takeoffs there, and the sales bloke there happened to know Lee and had struck a deal with him. And he knew that I was looking for a job in construction. He's like, oh, you should have a chat to Lee. Enso Homes are looking for an estimator. So that's how we got in touch. And from the first interview, it was an interesting one. One of the questions was he had a diagram of a house and he pointed to a stud and he's like, what's that? And I thought it was a trick question at the time because I'm like, surely if I've done a construction management degree and I've made it this far, I know what a stud in a house is.
You'd be surprised.
And I kind of took a little bit of time to answer him. I'm like, that's a stud, right? And he's like, yeah, it is. And then himself and the other person interviewing me cracked up into laughter because they interviewed a few people previously that weren't too sure what a stud was. So clearly they weren't the right fit. And it was probably just that really basic knowledge that got me through the door. But since then, I've given it my best crack and been there almost 7 years now.
How was on the other side of that interview? How was he?
No, it was really refreshing to. I saw a lot of myself in Sam, just with his passion for the industry and wanting to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell straight away.
That's a good segue into you, Lee. Tell us a little bit about the inception. Well, let's go back before the inception of Enso Homes to your background, where you grew up and what ultimately led you and your wife to starting Enso Homes.
I grew up in a little town called Coldstream out in the gateway to the Yarra Valley, it's now called.
Any famous people from Coldstream?
Probably Lindsay Gilby, maybe. That's about it.
It's about it. Nice left footer.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just basically a little sporting town with a milk bar and a footy oval, and that was about it. So
Does Milk Bar still exist there or not?
no, I don't know. I haven't been back for a while. I tend to drive straight past it now up to the wineries. Not that I go there often, but yeah, it was a good environment to grow up in. We were sort of a little bit out from town, so yeah, you had to involve yourself with the sporting community and whatnot, and that's sort of where I got a lot of my personality and how to deal with people and through sporting clubs and sporting teams. So I played a lot of sport growing up. I was always never really liked school. I just wasn't great at it. Wasn't a bad behaved child or anything or at school, but I just knew I was never going to see it out. So
Is that because you couldn't sit still or just not?
I don't know, just wanted to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in a milk bar. We didn't live there, but our parents owned a milk bar. So not the one in Coldstream, but yeah, so I was just always working and yeah, trying to save up. And
So when did you leave school?
I just started year 11. They just did VCAL. It was the first year they did VCAL. So I did most of that. And in that, you had to do like a Cert 2 or 1 or whatever in something. And I chose, there was one course where you did a week of everything: plumbing, plastering, carpentry, bricklaying, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, did that. Obviously left school, did heaps of different jobs: plumbing labourer, building for sale signs, working at a printing factory, Chinese dishwasher at a Chinese restaurant, Hungry Jack's, just did everything and anything to try and make some money. And then, yeah, while I was working for a printing factory, just at the end of the printing machine, stacking pallets, I lost my car licence. And it was like a 40-minute drive away from home. I didn't know what to do. I obviously met Holly at that stage. So, yeah, I found a TAFE near a train station because I knew I'd be able to get there from, on public transport because I didn't have a licence and they happened to do carpentry. I always liked doing carpentry and building at school, like with woodwork. So that was pretty easy. Did the pre-apprenticeship there, enjoyed it, and then picked up an apprenticeship at the end of it. And then, yeah, did that. I did quite well. I sort of, in my second, third and fourth year, I'd sort of try and buy a new tool every month and build up.
So how old were you at this point?
Oh, I would have been 19. I was pretty late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
18, 19. Yeah. So, yeah, I did a number of jobs from leaving school to then, plumber's labourer, heaps of stuff, which was sort of good because I knew when I found what I wanted, I just did it. And then, yeah, in my fourth year, I unfortunately fell off a roof, standing up roof trusses on an American homestead home up in Sunbury. It was a 3.5 metre fall, and I fell in a sitting position on my buttock. And then, yeah, they took me in for scans and everything, and they actually found a benign tumour in my spinal cord, which they reckon I was born with. And then they basically said, too young to have invasive surgery, take it easy type of thing. It might aggravate it and it will grow. It might not. It might be 1 week, 10 weeks, 100 years, 50 years. So I just sort of kept going and did what I could do. Tried to go back to work as a carpenter. I just couldn't do it because not only had the lipo, I just compressed my whole spine. But they just didn't want to do anything invasive just because of the age I was. So, yeah, I had really no choice. I didn't really have a resume to go get an administration job. But I just kept trying. I applied for hundreds of different jobs as an estimator because I had a mate that was doing it. I couldn't get one, but I ended up getting a job at Timber Truss Detailing, which is a Geelong company. But I was detailing in their office in Camberwell. So detailing wall frames. Didn't particularly like it, just sitting in front of the computer. Yeah, once I learnt the computer. And then, I just kept applying for estimating jobs. And then I finally got an interview at Carlisle Homes, and the general manager and the production manager at the time was just like me, really. They were pretty easy going. They didn't mind that I didn't know how to use a computer. They had a lot of uni students there that come from estimating and didn't really understand the urgency of when things go wrong on site that, you need to act quick because there's apprentices and trades and that, not getting paid by the hour. They're getting paid by when they finish a job. So, yeah, I sort of started estimate. They fortunately gave me the role and, just bang. I just took the opportunity and ran with it and really enjoyed it.
So what year's that? Carlisle Homes estimating. What year was that?
2009-10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward from 2009-10 to this. I mean, you weren't in Geelong at that time, were you? So you were working for Timber Trust, which out of the Melbourne office. What brought you to Geelong? I know there was. I read some of the backstory. It's yourself and your wife Holly. Is that right?
Yes. Correct,
yep. Yeah. So what actually brought you to Geelong? And bring me up to when you made the decision on a shoestring to design that lovely elliptical logo.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to start a business by the time I was 30, particularly with the injury that I have. I've got chronic nerve condition. It's just really hard to understand when I'm going to be able to get out of bed and get to work and whatnot, although I'm not as bad as what I thought I'd get.
We're still making tons in the cricket, so you can obviously swing it all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I just continually worked. I went to another. I left Carlisle Homes just because it's just such a machine. It's such an impressive machine. It was really hard to get up. There's always someone in the way because it was just you just wanted to be there. And if you're in a senior role, no one was moving. So I realised if I was going to stay there, I'd be there for a very long time, and I knew I'd wanted to sort of get my own thing happening. So I went to a smaller builder that was a little bit less organised, or a lot less organised, and just got in and just helped out wherever I could. Began with estimating and then just started helping with operations and all sorts of different tasks. They went from about 300 homes to almost 1,000 within a few years. It was amazing. So, just through that journey, I just learnt basically everything.
Where do you reckon you learnt more? In Carlisle Homes or in the dishevelled smaller business?
The other one, for sure. And, just when I was just about 30, I just thought, stuff it. I had the administration experience and I had the site experience. When I went for my building licence, I got it, although it was really difficult because I'm not good at studying because they drill you on what you're not qualified with, so like bricklaying and concrete foundations and all sorts of stuff, so waterproofing. So, I had to do that and then, started Enso Homes. The reason why we chose the name Enso Homes is my wife and I, when we did build a couple of years before, we went around to nearly every display home in Victoria and we just found everything to be the same. I got my drawing board out that we made the first week at TAFE and just started drawing different floor plans and something different. And Enso Homes, I just started Googling words for different and simplicity and ease, and Enso Homes popped up and that was it.
So what is Enso? Well, it's an Italian word?
Enso is a Japanese ritual or some Japanese performer.
Close. You thought Sam came up with it was a family thing, but
Japanese. It's some Japanese perform it daily as a ritual. It's like a perfectly complete circle. They just do it in one fluid brushstroke. It means a number of things.
I always wondered I'd never ask you where that name came from. But
actually, one of my good friends, and still is my best friend, he helped me come up with it. I was telling him what I was trying to come up with, and he's the one who sort of found it and helped me.
So what year was that? What year did you actually...
I was 30, so 2015. Okay. Or just before I was 30,
Yeah. So other than printing some business cards and getting a logo, what was the first thing you did when you decided to start Enso Homes, to start your own business?
I already had all the floor plans drawn because when I was off work for quite a number of time throughout my surgeries, and so I'd just sit at home drawing things. So the first thing I did was to get them drawn, all those floor plans. And then I had to get a brochure. I'd got like a A3 brochure printed and drove around all the land sales displays office. And the reason why we chose Geelong, to answer the original question, was when I first met Holly, we used to drive down this way all the time. We'd want to move out this way a lot, but there was just no jobs down here. She was in dental nursing and I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to get a job at all sorts of things, but just couldn't find anything. And with the business and the product that we had, we thought it would suit here. And raising a family, we didn't want to move to Cranbourne or Point Cook or Doreen or Wyndham Vale. It was a very easy decision. Yeah.
So you moved down here 2016 as you had the decision. Where did you move? Did you have an office straight up?
No, we went straight to Armstrong Creek, and the house that we brought the lady was a hairdresser, and Sam actually used to get a haircut there back in the day. So that was a bit of a coincidence. But
I used to just live around the corner. I was pretty devastated at the time because they're cheap haircuts. So when I heard that my hairdresser was moving, I was a bit upset. But funny how things kind of turn around.
She obviously didn't trim mustaches, mate.
No, we're giving Movember a crack this year. So I've only been able to do it the past couple of years. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm still a few years away, I think.
You're a long way away, Benny. Now, let's bring things up to where things are today. I mean, from humble beginnings, you and Holly moving down, starting your own shop to today, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of these company achievements, but recognition as the most awarded builder in Western Victoria for 2023. Am I right in saying that? Yep. Winner of the HIA Victoria Best Project Home Award. So fast forward from 2016, 2017 to 2023, a lot's happened. I mean, you've got a team of 12 to 14 people now. Talk to me about what you're doing in terms of your unique characteristics of Enso Homes and the type of homes you're building. Tell us a bit about that.
yeah, so we do have standard house designs that obviously they're still the ones that we went to market with back in 2016. But we do pride ourselves on customisation, and like our sweet spot is between 600,000 up to 1.2 million. We'd like to get a bit more up at the 1 million range, but we understand that we need to work our way up there. We're more than capable to do so, but we pride ourselves on delivering on what clients actually want and desire rather than telling them what they have to have.
So let's, for the novice, and how many homes you built, Ben?
None. And I'd avoid it like the plague because I know that it would just do my head in.
Yeah.
So that's...
I've built one, renovated one, and to me, it was a nightmare of a process. And I think for a lot of people out there, the reservations, I mean, there's a lot of reservations around property, whether it's, worried about, we'll talk about the market or interest rates, but one of them, particularly when you're making decisions about what you want to build, is you want to feel like you're actually supported through that process. Maybe this is a question for you, Sam, in terms of probably a question that relates to the listeners. Look, when you're thinking about building your own home and you're looking at engaging someone like Enso, what is the key point of difference for Enso that would see someone come to you rather than go to one of your volume builders or another builder?
Yeah, definitely. So there's pros and cons of going with a custom home builder. So if you come with us, the pros is that you get to have something tailored perfectly to your family's needs, and you get to get more involved with the process as well. So it is more of a partnership, and at Enso Homes, we like to walk our clients through that process and deliver a really high quality service and product at the end as well, because a big part of what we do is really acknowledging the sacrifices and the hard work that goes into getting into the position to be able to build a custom home as well. So we really want to reward that with an experience and product that justifies that effort. Whilst there are some really great aspects of it, it does probably require the clients to have a bit more of an idea of what they're wanting and to get a little bit more involved with the process than if they went to a volume builder. So instead of just picking up a house off the book sort of thing, it is getting really involved into the nitty gritty of how many rooms they want and the different orientations of the home and the facade of it and the different claddings and materials throughout as well.
Yeah, I'm immediately thinking about some parallels. I know I always draw parallels between what we do.
I was thinking the same thing immediately because I was thinking, again, for us, it's about our clients is like being engaged with them on that journey, knowing what they want, need, and then working around that, like not just going, one size fits all. Like we don't really have any interest in doing that because it's not as fulfilling for us either. And the client doesn't probably value it or get as much, back from it as well. So if you're actually involved with them, personalizing things, stepping right through that, like that's the sweet spot for us as well. It's a lot more enjoyable for everyone. And there's no surprises. Like if you're keeping them in the loop updated, you're being thorough with that process, everyone gets a better outcome, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And whilst it can be traditionally a little bit more expensive to build a custom home, in a way, every dollar that goes into the home is an effective use of that money. Whereas if you go with a volume builder, it tends to be at a lower price point, but you might be getting rooms or spaces that don't really suit your needs perfectly. It might be the best out of the bunch, but to be able to put your money towards exactly what you're wanting, we find that pretty special and generally gets the best outcome for the client.
So you mentioned a couple of things, but what are, like someone comes to build a home, what are the things that they should be thinking about that they need to make some decisions, particularly with a personalised home?
Yeah, definitely. So it's, I guess, is that common breakdown of wants, needs and desires sort of thing. So you got to think about what your family needs. Obviously, if you got 3 kids, you probably need at least 4 bedrooms to make use of that. But it also comes into your lifestyle as well. So let's say around the Geelong area, a lot of people love going to the beach, going surfing. Do you want an outdoor shower? That's an option that you can have. Do you want an oversized garage so you can fit your golf cart in there, or potentially your boat as well? Do you need a boot room because you're into your cricket or your footy and stuff like that as well? So it really comes down to knowing the basic necessities, but then going beyond that and looking at what is your lifestyle and how can we tailor this home to complement that as well as we possibly can.
Yeah. Maybe a question for you, Lee, in terms of the types of homes that you guys build or specialise in. I've got a little bit of an idea, but I'll let you speak to it. What's your niche? What's your sweet spot in terms of the types of homes that you're building?
Yeah, traditionally, well, when we first started, a lot of it was really modern, a lot of street appeal. We are trying to change that, or not change it, but just give a little more diversity. We've got a mid-century modern offering. We've got a more period style offering now, so just broaden that range. We're trying to get some acreage product out there with barn style, just to try and target a bit more of a wider audience, even though we can customise to whatever they need. But some people find it really difficult to envision things, so we do like to give them some inspiration for them to customise, or happy for them to come in with their own clean slate.
Yeah, so when you look on your website and you've obviously got, your base sort of floor plans on there, that's just pretty much the really vanilla starting point for most people. Not too many probably end up building what that actually looks like. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, exactly right. So that's kind of the starting point for inspiration. So it gives people an idea of what they can do and what some kind of design aspects they might like to include in their home. But it really comes down to them. And then as Lee touched on earlier as well, another one of the really exciting aspects is the custom homes from the $600K price point. Because I think traditionally when people think custom home, they think $1 million plus budget. And that keeps a lot of people outside the market. But to be able to offer that at a more accessible price level and allow more people to build a custom home and enjoy the benefits of that, that's something that's really exciting for us as well.
I think that's probably one of the major concerns, particularly for people in that price bracket who are maybe building their first home, is that want to actually have someone hold their hand through the process and thinking that they're going to be left in the lurch having to make decisions they're not equipped to make. How do you guys manage that hand-holding process from the time someone comes and finds you to the time you hand over the keys and give them a brand spanking new home?
Well, yeah, we're coined the term we're their co-pilot throughout the build. So we have Michael as our sales specialist or new home specialist. He will obviously at your first inquiry and take you right through to contract signing stage, where I will do that with Michael. And then from that point, we hand over to the construction team. And obviously myself and Michael are still available from there. But it's just every stage, the site managers contacting them weekly, or if not calling, at least giving them an update. Claim stages, they must offer them a walkthrough. And obviously our office is available if I'm not available. So yeah, there's plenty of touch points throughout the build. Is there anything more of?
Yeah, just I guess what you're touching on in regards to our team as well. We're really strongly resourced for the volume of builds that we do. So we cap it at 30 per year, and that's just to ensure that we can provide that level of service that we're wanting to provide for our clients and that our clients come to us for. So we could potentially have the capacity to build a lot more homes than what we do, but then standards would slip and our clients would effectively get from us what they could probably go to another builder and receive. So
yeah. So your team's going to kill you if you don't give them a shout out. So let's talk a little bit about what resources you have in-house, and also talk about some of the external relationships that you guys use to help with the quality of your builds and making sure that your product is top-notch.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I'll touch on the construction team, then Lee can talk about the internal office-based team. So we've got 2 project managers with a lot of experience. So they're out on site all day, every day. They have lower than average amounts of builds per person sort of thing to make sure that they can have the time to not just deliver that service to the client, but also have the time to properly inspect the quality of the homes and make sure that everything is running as well as it can.
I think from the office point of view, we have an in-house drafting department, so I think that often gets forgotten and we probably don't communicate it as well as we should have. Sometimes we get clients come to, a lot of the times, that have already gone to an external drafting service and spent tens of thousands of dollars, or an architect, whereas as a custom home builder, we have that resource in-house, and that is a part of your base house price, because without those plans, we can't build a house. So that's just part of the service for us, and obviously it's an overhead, so It's not something that we tack on to the end of the price. It's just a part of doing business for us. So that's something that we probably need to get better at communicating. That's a really good point for us. If you do have an unusual site or a knockdown rebuild or acreage and you got something inspirational you want to build, we can help with that rather than going to an external company where the issue that we see is they're not in the building game day in, day out and knowing the price rises and everything. Our drafting, we're all aware of it. So we're closer to the budget when we do design, and we design to our construction methods. So when you do tender it out to a builder, all builders get freaked out by the way they've designed things and just over-allow for things, and then you just get priced out of your budget range. So, yeah, that's one of the things of being a custom home builder. We do have that in-house drafting team. We've got an in-house estimating team, obviously accounts. We coordinate all the permits as well, and obviously the colour selection process or fixtures and fitting selection process as well.
You do that in-house or outsource that?
We have in Gallery in Port Melbourne, which is an independent colour studio, and that's got about 83 builders a part of it. So they get that experience of walking into a full design centre with all the fixtures and fittings and not being overwhelmed by going to every carpet call, Beaumont, every place around Geelong and carrying around samples, or you've got an interior designer to hold your hand through the process. And that's something that we find really beneficial.
Sorry to cut you off, moving forward, what are you seeing different in the current climate? Like, are people looking for different things from that, or are they looking for different add-ons about sustainability and things like that with their homes? Is that becoming more front of mind, or is it not yet sort of in the marketplace for people?
Yeah, there's definitely the sustainability and orientation we get a lot of requests for additional insulation or solar PV, louver windows even. Yeah. Air purification, water filtering. It is definitely a trend, that's for sure.
Definitely. I think in today's market as well, it's very much a balance between your ethics and your desires and your budget as well. So when we work with our clients, we can have a chat to them and understand their interests and passions in the environment, and then look at how we can make that feasible for them as well, because I'm sure everyone would love to go and help out the environment as much as they could, but budget's always a thing at the end of the day sort of thing. So we look at those options and try and get the best middle ground outcome for them.
That's interesting. Like, I think about, again, reflect on the parallels of what we do is, that first interaction with someone, you might talk at a pretty high level just generally about them and their life, and for half an hour to an hour or more, but you take away so many points from that you're probably going to have to try and factor into what they need from a new home. Yeah. So it's interesting how, again, you can discover a lot of key points about someone without them actually having to fill out a checklist of questions and forms, and most people hate doing that. So I think that's a really important part. Yeah.
While we're talking about quality, we had I think one of your mates on, doesn't work in your business but works alongside you, Jake at Mance Group. We had him on a couple of podcasts ago, didn't we?
Yeah, he was in recently. So I think Jake, again, they might have been with you guys right from, I feel like he said you was like from build one sort of thing, like it was an early.
Our first build, the client said, I want to use an independent inspector. I'm like, great, fantastic. And it ended up being Jake from Mance Group, and we just got along straight away. Usually the builder and the inspector clash, but just with the nature of, I guess, myself, just always, I like to know what's not going right and like to fix it. So, and the way he went about it was really good. He didn't come in and spray paint pink everywhere and tell everyone what to do. Just really factual and really level-headed, and just, gave you the report, and that was it. And you researched and all of it was correct, and you just fix it and move on.
How valuable has that been? Has it been well received by your clientele?
For the clientele, it is. Our trades feel like it adds a bit more time by doing things as per the Australian standards, but it's just something that we just can't walk past.
Yeah. So, but one of the words I noticed a lot, again, reading stuff, is always quality, which obviously stands up, especially, when probably the industry broadly, you can talk about that as much as you want to, where quality is getting questioned, and you talk about the standards and what doesn't get met. For you guys, is that sort of probably always the number one, still quality? If you don't have a quality product, then everything else sort of falls away after that.
Yeah, I feel like we don't market that enough. I just think because it's just ingrained in us, and we take it for granted what the extra little things that we do. And then when you drive around, you see things, you're just like, wow, we actually
do a great job.
Yeah, so it's sort of frustrating.
It's hard to pat yourself on the back though. It's hard to sort of pump yourself up a bit. But if you know you're doing the right thing, like I drive past, I've got no idea. Like, and a lot of people get a house built, they think it's amazing, but they actually have no idea whether it's quality or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because every builder says they're quality, so you just feel like you're just regurgitating. So it had been really difficult for us.
That idea of like self-promotion and self-adulation and recognising yourself as having done a good job, again, it's felt pretty foreign to us in our world, but one of the things we recognise, and I think it's the same in a lot of small businesses, is that you actually have to lift the lid sometimes and tell people what you do. Like you've actually got to give people a peek under the hood. That's why I think the things like this podcast have been really helpful for all the small business owners that we've had on board, because there's things that you know intuitively and you kind of just do. The clientele in the outside world, they won't necessarily see it. So if you can give them a little bit of a peek under the hood, they start to see like the intricate detail and the effort and energy and time that goes into establishing Enso Homes. I mean, you look at all of the learnings that you've had over the course of 20 years plus that now an input on that new client's home, and everything that you've made a mistake with over the past now becomes something that will provide quality for clients who are building their home. I want to take a little bit of, it's not too much of a segue, but just in terms of impact of multiple things on the property market. You talked a little bit about having to adapt, or not in the podcast, but previously I read about having to adapt to the challenges of COVID and some of the sort of marketing and promotion that you continued to do through COVID times. Tell us a little bit about what happened during COVID, how you addressed that, but also what your view on the property market is, whether it be the new build market or anything that you want to touch on, because I know our listeners are very anything property related, whether it be their first home and investment property,
just market
development,
conditions,
conditions, anything they're very interested in. So over to you, Lee.
Yeah, I'll start with how we managed to find our way through COVID. I'll let Sam talk about the market. He's all over it. Just with COVID, in 2020, obviously everyone didn't know what was going on. Stressing out, sales just went down, and then they brought out the home builder grant. We actually finally found our feet. We're only in our third, fourth year. So it was quite demoralising to finally get somewhere, and then, we're back to day one again. And they brought out the home builder grant, so there was an incentive there for land and house build to be under $750. You got X amount of dollars. So all of a sudden, people buying land in Torquay for $455. We're trying to build houses for $300,000, and that was all that we could take, and we did. And fair to say, we didn't do too well. We ended up doing a lot double than what we usually would. And we had the issue of people working from home, which, with all the documentation in construction, rarely reconciled. So there was just a number of issues. We made the decision to continue to try and market throughout the whole COVID. We didn't spend $1 less than what we did in 2019. We probably spent more. Try and stay relevant, knowing that there was going to be an end to it all eventually. And then in August last year, we decided to just cut the cord and go back to what we started. And when I first got the drawing board out, what we wanted to do, and that was custom homes and trying to service clients rather than just building a lot of houses and not even knowing. Some of the clients, didn't have a relationship because we weren't allowed out of our houses, never met them. It was just awful.
We really lost the core of what you tried to do. I think a lot of people went through
that was forced from the market. But fortunately, just had a moment. So I'm glad we went through that, because now I'm never going to wonder ever again, can we build more houses? We probably could, but I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Because we do enjoy, like what Sam said, giving people what they want, designing to what they need. And then it's just Holly and I, so we stress. So less stress is better. And when a client can call us and ask us something and we can answer it and we've got time for them, that feels good. When we don't have time for them, we lose. It's stressful. Because, we do understand that people sacrifice to be able to build with Enso Homes. And if we're not available, then what's the point of this being in the market? That's that. Sam, market conditions?
Market conditions. I'm no expert by any means, but I'm probably more in Pete's camp in terms of optimism. Jay's dad.
He loved the optimism. That was one of his favourites. So
Sam was the one who said
he thought you're a pessimist.
Yeah.
He'd be like PB.
But always pretty bullish on the Geelong market. Can't really talk about any other markets because it's the only one that I really know. But if you look at immigration, low vacancy rates, population of Geelong is due to grow to over 500,000 by 2050. It's going to be the fastest growing regional city, definitely in Victoria, potentially in Australia. And then you look at not just, you look at the fundamentals of the Geelong region as well. There's a lot of boom occurring over COVID in random regional areas that maybe didn't have a lot of infrastructure to support and provide substance to the boom, whereas Geelong has $16 billion of infrastructure work in the pipeline, whether that's recently completed or under construction or in planning stages. So I think the market around Geelong is going to be strong for a long time. The unfortunate aspect is that prices just probably aren't going to see too much of a dip, I wouldn't expect.
I was just going to say that that idea of growth potential in the future looks solid. Affordability, which is probably the key thing that we continue to see with interest rates going up and inflation increasing cost pressures. Have you guys noticed anything in terms of the conversations you had with clients just around their ability to afford different levels of build cost?
Yeah, we have, certainly. And the amount of times I have to go back for an approval because it's lapsed or circumstances have changed. Valuations come right off. I've had a couple of cancellations because of that. And it's heart-wrenching. You've worked on a custom home. They're married to this new design and they just can't go ahead. It's really difficult.
Ben, for that idea of having to go back and revisit valuations, which I think has probably been exacerbated by the rapidness and regularity of interest rates. If you're telling a client out there what they should do in terms of assessing their borrowing capacity, if they've got a build that's, they've got pre-approval for, what's some tips to them? What sort of tips would you have for them to make sure that they don't get into that point of difficulty at the completion of, or ready to start the build and don't have enough money?
Yeah, there's probably all that prep stuff, like knowing right where you're at and building some buffers into it. So if things have been a bit crazy in the last few years because obviously the cost to build has gone up, and then interest rates on top of that. So there's sort of the double whammy of it. But it's just all about prep and knowing that, okay, if this happens, then I'm still good. Like having heaps of room to move so that you really don't want to be living on a knife's edge with these things. And for our clients, they probably, we never sort of push them to the peak of that point. Like we want to keep them in a place where they're making good decisions, they're growing their wealth, they may be taking on some debt, doing the things they want to do, but they're not taking it to that point where if one little thing falls away, that, their dream home or whatever it is gets pulled out from under them as well. Because it can happen at any point during that process, even when they might get started and then something else comes along. So again, it's probably just that really having a really hands-on, detailed knowledge of your situation, your cash flow. It's those boring little things that we bang on about a lot, but just knowing your situation inside out, then you're in a position to go into that build stage with confidence, having your finance sort of well and above where it needs to be, all those things. Again, some people have had situational change. There's always going to be people that, unfortunately, shit goes wrong. Like it's going to happen. It will always happen. But if you can, majority of people be really prepped. I think a lot of people think, I'm going to build a new home, and they pretty much put a deposit on a block before they've even considered, like, what could we actually afford to build on this thing? Yeah. And they come and see you guys, and they sort of live in half the dream, and then they go to the bank, and the bank goes, you're 250 grand away from even start. Like, they're not even close. Yeah. You've sort of got to get your ducks in the right order. And that's a challenge. A lot of people don't understand. Like, it's an education thing. Like, we find even well-educated people just do not understand the process of what that looks like. And I've often said to people, when we've talked to Jake or other people, like, when should they come and talk to you? Or when should they come and talk to, when should they come and talk to you guys? It's probably once they've got their house in order of knowing what they can afford, really. Like, ultimately, there's other people that are just fishing around trying to get an idea of what does it cost. But if you don't know what you can afford, how can you really make any decision?
I think that's where that custom home design, we do design and build, or design and construct. So from the very beginning, we can give you a new home proposal within a week, basically, with a sketch design, just with our price book and our knowledge. Whereas if you did go to an external party, you're just designing on a random budget.
Yeah.
And that might take 8 months. So then by the time you do go to a builder, it's probably 9% dearer.
Yeah.
So it's about engaging early with whoever you're going to build with, rather than just going through the design stage with A and then hooking in party B later on.
I've seen that with architects more probably, and the draftsmen too, where they just like, their creative ambitions take over from the budget, and then they come to you and you go, you can't afford to build that thing. Like,
It's a common scenario that we face, actually. We have clients come from architects that have gotten these beautiful plans designed, and then they go to get it priced by a builder, and it's 300K or more above what they can actually afford. So they've been sold this dream, they're in love with it, and then almost, whoops, yeah, exactly. That dream's almost shattered right before it even gets started, sort of thing. So by coming to us, whether it's from that stage, because architects do an amazing job of designing beautiful homes, and we really value that. But one of the challenges that they face is that they don't have an in-house estimator or team that can help quantify prices. And particularly throughout this COVID period, prices have been going up weekly almost. So for an architect to stay on top of that, it's just too challenging. So clients can either come to us from the beginning and we can get a really clear picture of what they can afford and achieve with their budget from that point. Or if they do happen to go to an architect, get those plans drawn, they're told it's too expensive, they can't afford it, they can come to us and we can look at design alternatives and solutions that can help achieve, you know, the vast majority of what they're wanting, but how can we do it in a more affordable manner so they can actually get their dream home?
Yeah. So just that compromise thing, which is pretty much for most people when they set out to either buy an existing property or build, like not many people don't make a compromise on the block or the orientation or the size or whatever it is. But if you got to know what they are and what the different levers of cost that you can pull back off that, like if you don't know that, then you just fly blind.
Yeah. Which is kind of back to your original point, Ben, of having your house in order and knowing what you can do. And I know we probably talk about it ad nauseum. It is a financial planning podcast. And I know that we're big on that collaboration. Whenever people have some sort of significant event in their life, whether it be building a home, starting a business, starting a family, or receiving an inheritance, like there is an element of personal responsibility where you've got to say, hey, I've actually, to get the best outcome I can, I've got to actually engage the people that matter here. And I think for a lot of people, they probably don't immediately draw the connection between seeing a financial planner and when they're building their first home, and that those two things can work collaboratively together. And I mean, again, people could probably get sick of me saying this, but regardless of who it is, whether it is your accountant or your solicitor or your builder or your stockbroker, having collaboration with the people that matter who help support your financial decisions is super important, because it's really hard to make informed decisions in life unless you've got a handle on, you know, what you can afford, what your goals are, all the things that you said earlier, Sam, like actually having an idea of what you're trying to achieve in the first place. It's so critical. Yeah,
definitely. I think a point that you guys often raise on your podcast as well is the importance of focusing on microeconomics, not just macroeconomics. So say in our situation in building, it's all well and good knowing what the interest rates are doing and what the wider industry is doing and land availability and stuff like that, but actually looking at that individual situation and what they can afford, what they need, what they want. Whereas you wouldn't be able to necessarily get that at a larger builder where their business model is not necessarily to dig that deep into the individual and what their needs are, sort of thing. So that's another area where we can specialize and offer, which is similar to the work that you guys do.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I'm mindful of time. We've been going for nearly an hour. We've only touched on cricket and golf a couple of times. I wanted to wrap up with maybe a bit of a call to action to any of the listeners out there on how they can get a hold of you guys, what your social media handles are, where they can see some of your work, and if they want to contact you, where do they find you?
Yeah, type Enso Homes into Google. That's probably the easiest way. But we have a website, ensohomes.com.au. We're on socials, including Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Enso Homes.
We've got the display home in Armstrong Creek, which Michael Badman works out of, which is by appointment. It is our best-selling house plan. It is. We never really build the same house twice, but it does draw people in, that's for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't covered off on today, guys, that you wanted to leave our listeners with?
No, I can't really think of anything.
I just wanted to say quickly that Ben's moved his microphone stand and it's been right in front of my camera all podcast.
Probably for the best anyway.
And Sam's battery went flat, or his phone got full. So anyone who's watching this on YouTube, sorry about the poor images.
Faces for radio.
Yeah.
Well planned, Sam.
It's all good. It's all good. Listen, guys, thanks very much for coming and having a chat with us. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's great to get some insight into Enso Homes and the foundations of the business, but also what you're doing uniquely in the Geelong and greater area. We'd love to have you back on for an episode 2 or 3 and maybe some market updates from time to time. So Lee and Sam, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility. Do your homework. Ask questions and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PP Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke, Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.